Okay, so in today's video, let's talk about managing money. And in particular, I want to talk about the 3 things you need to stop doing if you want to manage your money better. And this is going to be really helpful if you do have specific money goals, like you're trying to save up for a house deposit, emergency fund, a wedding, a car, or even financial independence. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first thing I think you should stop doing if you're trying to manage your money better is to stop comparing yourself to others. Now, you might be surprised and thinking, what has comparison got to do with actually managing your money? And I say this because I feel like comparison is actually one of the biggest things that hinders us when it comes to dealing with our finances. And I think there are 2 reasons for this. Number 1, I feel like we compare ourselves when it comes to being more image focused. And number 2, I feel like we do compare ourselves, especially when we feel like we're behind. So if we go back to the first explanation, when I'm talking about image, I mean that you might be comparing yourself to others thinking, I want to have that. So for example, if you see on social media that your friends are maybe going on these really extravagant trips, or they've now bought this new car and they wanted to show it to everyone, you may decide to start comparing yourself to those people, and you may think that you actually need to go on those same experiences, or you need to get the same car because your friend has that car, without realizing that you may be on a different journey or path when it comes to your finances. And especially if you feel like God is taking you this way, but your friends are going that way, and you then think you need to go that way as well, you may be mishearing what God has told you to do. So it's really important to ask yourself, am I comparing myself to others? Am I seeing people buy houses and buy cars and go on these extravagant trips? And do I now think that I have to go on those same trips in order for me to live my life? And if you're not in a financial position to do so, you may find that you end up going into debt just to finance that lifestyle, not realizing that the only reason why you're funding that lifestyle is because you are comparing yourself to other people. Now, if we talk about the second point, where you're comparing yourselves to others, thinking that you're always behind, that can also be a problem when it comes to managing your money, because if you constantly feel like you're behind your peers or people that you see on social media, you may have already given up before your journey has started and decide that actually you no longer want to manage your money because you're behind already. And one of my clients really had a big problem with this, because she kept thinking that she should have bought her house already, or she should have all of these savings already, because her friends were already homeowners by the time they even reached 25. And I told her that the reason why you're struggling to manage your money better and why you're not saving as much isn't necessarily because of your own finances. It is actually because you keep comparing yourselves to your friends, and because you're comparing yourself to your friends thinking that you're already behind, you've subconsciously given up, and in your mind you are thinking there is no point in trying to manage your money better or to even save for your house deposit, simply because you're already behind. So once she decided to actually stop comparing her situation to her friends, and she was then content with where she was, and she was also proud of the progress she made, she then ended up saving so much more money and managing her money so much better, simply because she decided to stop comparing herself. And she even got to a point where she was saving over 45% of her income very easily, because she was no longer thinking about other people. Now, if you're someone who maybe resonates with that and you want to find out more about working with me personally, I will leave a link in the description below so you can find out more about one-on-one coaching. But when it comes to managing your money better, one of the things that people don't necessarily talk about is the fact that when you are comparing yourself to others, and you're either doing it from an image perspective or you're feeling behind, both of those factors can actually stop you from managing your money, because you will either have thoughts where you have to keep running this hamster wheel trying to catch up with others, or because you feel like you're behind already, you give up with your finances altogether. So if you're someone who constantly compares yourself to others, that could be one of the biggest reasons as to why you're maybe not managing your money as well as you would like to. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel, plus it's free. Now, the second thing you should stop doing if you do want to manage your money better is to stop trying to avoid or over impulse on things because of your past. Now, this may sound a bit unconventional and you may not be sure what I'm talking about, but let's talk about the avoiding part first, because what tends to happen is, if you think back to your childhood, if you maybe grew up in a time where your parents really struggled with money and maybe you were never able to go on school trips or even holidays purely because there wasn't much money, if you grew up in that environment, what you may realize is that you are very scared to spend money. Like, you genuinely don't want to spend money at all, and that is probably because you are avoiding trying to spend any type of money so that you can't go back to that type of environment. And so what you might decide to do is save and save and save, but the difference is that you don't even save for a specific purpose. You actually just save money simply because you don't want to go back into that environment. And so you may not even end up using those savings. It may just be sitting in your bank account because you may be scared to use those savings, and you may also be scared to spend your money. And that will then also have an impact on how you manage your money, because when it comes to managing your money, part of that is saving for a specific purpose and also trying to grow your money as well. So if you're trying to think about financial independence, where you have the option to do what you want to do, or if you're trying to think about retirement, you may not end up preparing well for that simply because you decided to hoard all of your money and you decided not to take the risk to try and grow that money. And on the other side, if you maybe had a childhood where, again, potentially you didn't have much money, but your parents were very strict when it came to money, and maybe there were times where you absolutely would have loved to go to McDonald's and get that Happy Meal so you could get that free toy, but then your parents always said that there's rice at home, you may find that as you grow older, because you were so restricted when you were young when it came to spending money, you may decide to now over impulse and may start overspending because of what happened in your childhood. And so I would definitely say I was in a similar camp to this. I wouldn't say I was very restricted when it came to my childhood, but there were things that I could see my friends doing, again, comparison, that we didn't necessarily do. And so as I got older and I started making more money, I decided that I was going to spend money on pretty much anything and everything. So if you're really trying to manage your money better, you need to really think about whether you're actually avoiding spending money in general, or if you're actually overspending, because both of those scenarios can have a negative impact when it comes to dealing with your money. Now, the third thing I think you should stop doing if you're trying to manage your money better is to stop having a fear-based mindset when it comes to handling your money. Now, what I mean by this is, if you're constantly thinking, I can never build wealth, or I can never become financially independent or financially free, well then as a result, it probably won't happen. So when it does come to managing your money, you need to believe that it is still possible to do it. So if I take myself as an example, when I was in debt and I had about 16 grand that I needed to pay off, I needed to believe that I could still become financially independent and build wealth even whilst I am in debt. And I also needed to believe that I could still manage my money better even though I was used to spending my whole paycheck. And the reason why I believed it is because I decided that I was not going to have a fear-based mindset around handling money. Yes, I may have been spending my whole paycheck and even ended up in debt, but that didn't mean that I could not build wealth, and that didn't mean that I couldn't work towards financial independence. And so it's really important to ask yourself, do you actually believe that you can manage your money better? Do you believe that you can become financially independent? Do you believe that you can build wealth for your family and for your generations and for your community? If you keep telling yourself that you're scared and that you can't do it and that it's impossible, well, most likely it probably won't end up happening. Whereas for me personally, even though I had a negative net worth and I was so used to just spending every penny, since I decided that I was going to build wealth and become financially independent, yes, it may have felt a bit scary at the time, but I felt the fear and did it anyway. And I actually got to a point where I paid off all my debt so that I could now start saving and investing for my financial future. And I decided that I was going to be really good at managing my money to the point where I could have a money conversation with absolutely anyone, which is something that I had always been scared to do before. So really ask yourself, if you're trying to manage your money better, do you have the belief that you can actually manage your money better? Really taking away that fear-based mindset when it comes to money will then help you to become more confident, even if the results aren't there yet, because what you'll then be doing is you'll be taking actions to help you. And so in my case, because I was no longer scared of trying to save money, for example, I then asked myself, okay, what actions can I do to now start saving money and to now start overpaying on my debt? It is only because I removed the fear-based mindset that allowed me to take the action to help me then pay off my debt and also start building wealth. Now, if you're someone who realizes that you do want to manage your money better, but there are some things that are maybe stopping you from doing this, maybe you are comparing yourself to others, maybe you do have a fear-based mindset, or maybe you've been overspending or even avoiding how you actually spend money, and you've decided that now is the time to change, then make sure you do check out my one-on-one coaching, because what I can do is help you manage your money better to the point where you are able to save so much more money consistently, and you'll also be able to grow that money too. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. What you can do is book a free call just to find out more about working with me. So I'll link more information up here for you and in the description below. But as I mentioned, although these explanations may be a bit unconventional, I hope they get you thinking when it comes to managing your money, because it may not just be down to the budget. There may be certain things around how you think about money that will impact how you actually manage your money overall. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments what points resonate with you. I do post every Tuesday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next week.